everybody, Andrew Marr here. Welcome to The Blueprint, proudly brought to you by our friends at Hyundai. Joining me once again is former champion skipper of the club, Mark McClure. So it's great to be here. 3 good wins on the trot has got us in reasonable nick in terms of the ladder. But we start the acid test of our season this next 5 weeks with the bye in the middle of it. Probably going to tell us exactly where we're at.
And the best time to do it. We're in reasonable form. Percentage on the ladder is pretty good. We're right up with the best sides in the competition. Are we as good as the Essendons and the ones above, Freo and Sydney and Collingwood? No, not Collingwood, but North Melbourne and not North Melbourne.
Oh, but the ones around, they're all the ones around.
Yeah, they're all the ones around us. But are we as good as them?
Yep.
We'll find out Friday night.
We're going to start on Friday night, and it's going to be a big game, particularly with Essendon, including Joe Danaher. They're going to be the Fizz team going in. There's no doubt there's going to be a lot of buzz around Essendon going into that game. Just before we get stuck into the bits and pieces that we want to focus on, a quick thought on the last 2 weeks. Brisbane a fortnight ago. I remember the last time we came here, you said goal kicking had been a major issue. Well, we turned out we used the ball pretty poorly against Brisbane that night and kicked 13-20. It didn't look like the penny had dropped.
Kills you, doesn't it?
It does.
Should ask them when they come in to do their contracts, are you any good at this? Can you kick a goal? And then say, if you can't, well, go back and try again. Right. And this is what you get. So, I mean, some of these guys stand up and say, I want more money. But that is the most thing you have to do. One of the things you must do is kick goals. And it kills teams. It killed Hawthorn last year in the grand final. They should have won that grand final. They didn't because of goal kicking. So it's a very, very big issue.
Lost the tackle count that night, 59-39, which I'm sure would have been addressed internally. I know you were at the GWS game last weekend. It was predictable enough, I know, the result. But did you like the way they went about it?
Well, it's a day that you practice to be perfect, and that's what you try and do. And I thought that they handled themselves reasonably well. They still leak sometimes little goals here and there that they shouldn't have done. But I enjoyed watching the GWS and the development of their kids as well. I saw some kids there that were very good, and we're going to talk about them in the next sort of 20 minutes or so about what we've got coming up for the future.
17 marks inside 50 was probably the stat that stood out. Yeah, the tackle count was up, which was good.
Which is great.
Jeff Garlett's been one of the real standouts for us this year. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Right up there in terms of Coleman medal contention so far. And I think that magic C word, Sellers, has finally worked its way into his mindset.
Yeah, he's very confident in his own ability now. I tell you what, people walk through the gate to see this guy.
Yeah,
he is brilliant and exciting and quick. As soon as he starts to run and they start to swarm up forward the Smalls, he's done it without Eddie, which is the other thing. And Dennis Arnfield's been with him. But I love watching him play. He's just super. Look at this, bang. He reads the play well. He understands the game well. He's just got to continue to get to more contests. Yeah. He can do it. He's got plenty of tank. And he's got so much pace. He's an exciting player. I'm
a bit interested to see when Mick and the boys decide that maybe he might be worth a crack, just spasmodically in the middle of the ground. I reckon he'd be a really exciting centre clearance player.
Oh, I think they probably use him soon.
Yeah.
I really do. I think they use him for 10 minutes a quarter or something like that. Just give him a run.
Yeah.
But while you've got such an attacking player and a brilliant player forward, why would you mess it up?
Exactly right. Yeah. One of the players we've been focusing on this show almost on a fortnightly basis this year has been Dennis Arnfield. And I think we both made the point that he just seems to be improving every season. And again, we put it all into context last week's performance, but he just does all the right things, doesn't he?
Well, it's a brilliant kick into space out in front, and then he does the same thing. When the other day we were sitting in the box watching this, and there's so much space up in the forward 50 that it was just dangerous for GWS. And this is the perfect kick over the top, as you see. They run onto it. Arnfield just blows them away with pace. Garlett blows them away with pace. Yep. They've got too much of it up there, and that was the easy goals they kicked. And that's a good setup.
Re-signed with the club for another 2 years, which is absolutely fantastic news for him and for the Carlton Footy Club. One of the big tests tomorrow night is clearly going to be Joe Watson. He's in Brownlow medal form again. He was subdued last week against Sydney. Now, Andrew Carazzo would be the nominal one to get him, but he's not there, obviously, as he continues to work his way back from that calf strain. Is Ed Curnow the man who you'd go with to begin?
Not certain about Ed Curnow. He's a very powerful bloke, Watson, and he pushes people out of the way. And his big work is done inside. You need someone to go with him. I'm not certain who the man is. You know, Kashi goes okay.
He does?
He's very good. And I like Curnow. Curnow's done a super job. He knows his ability. He plays within it. He doesn't try to go outside his realms of possibility, and he's doing a good job. He's chasing tackle. He's got great aerobic ability. Can he run away? Because you need to hurt him as well, Watson. You can actually hurt Watson because he's so slow. in defence. He doesn't defend very well at all.
Yeah.
They all say he's getting better. I disbelieve that.
Yeah.
He's a great pusher of the ball forward.
I think you made some really good points about him. He's so honest, is Ed Kerner. I reckon he might be the one that they go with to begin with. Who knows what the side's going to look like? There's definitely going to be a couple of changes with a couple of big names back. We'll get to that a bit later on. I hope Troy Menzel gets to play more often than he doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
I know he will down the track, but just last week, Sellers, everything he had to do, he just did really nice.
That was a beautiful kick on the left. He just curled it back in beautifully. He has enormous skills. I want to see more of him, though, and I think one of the things that you do as a young player, he came in and come off the bench a couple of weeks ago. I think it was against Port. He went back to the reserves. He came back in and he improved a little bit this week in the way he can do things. He doesn't mess things up. But exactly. I want to see him go back. I want to see him go back again because I'm not certain he'll survive this week with Betts coming in.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him, but if he stays, great. If he doesn't, go back and work harder. Yeah. Get to more contests. Get you more ball. Get some more confidence about yourself because that's what the game's about. They've all got ability. Every one of them.
Some have got a bit more than others, though, haven't they? He looks like he might have a bit more than his share. Yeah. The other one I reckon is Josh Bootsma, who just looks like I think Mickey likes him. And I think he's learning. I know he had he had the meltdown against Collingwood where he got lost a couple of times, but a couple of times we've seen him since, he's just starting to pick up what he's got to do in this game.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah, I like him. He's got some ability and he can play forward too. That's what I think he's got a chance there. The other one's Casbolt.
Well, we'll get to him.
Where do we go with him?
Well, we'll get to him in a minute, I reckon. And I reckon Mickey's trying to work it all out in terms of the best setup, and it'll be interesting to see which side they select on for Friday night's game. But after the Giants game, he was sitting alongside Lockie Henderson and he was asked about the evolving game plan of this football team.
The game structure that I had delivered in October in Arizona, is different than what it is now. Because you can be pig-headed and just keep bashing it and pounding it, and if the player group aren't really equipped for it, and that's what I had to find out. What are the playing group equipped to do? What do they enjoy? Football's about enjoyment as well. And what can they achieve by, or what can they tell me about the best way they play? So it's give and take on both, and I reckon what we've done is over the last few weeks we've started to cut off bits and pieces that I had, and cut off bits and pieces that perhaps I didn't like, and the player group thought, we'll shuffle it up, and what's happened is we've got a game structure that meets the criteria, and as long as we don't stray from it now, we can be a good football side.
It's a meeting in the middle, and I like that. I really like it. And so I don't know whether I'm reading too much into this, but this is the total point, really basic graphic, but the total points against the team through the 10 rounds so far. First 3 rounds, we know we lost those. Richmond, Collingwood, Geelong. The 91 points was the loss against St Kilda, but there's really been a rewriting of the way they play their footy. Much greater emphasis on accountability. Different setup now down back and through the middle of the ground. Am I reading too much into the fact that we're not getting the same sort of heavy scores put on the board against us?
No, you're reading it perfectly. The stats say that they're in the top 2 or 3 in the competition for defensive play. All the stats in the KPI area that the club would look at, they're on the improve from previous years. All they've got to do is actually work out what Mick wants and actually play to their ability, I mean, and that's all he wants them to do. I like what he said. He actually admitted that he had to change slightly.
Yeah.
And you do. It's part of life.
Yep.
We all adapt. You go and live with someone. You get married, you go and live with you've got to change a little bit, although we don't like to.
Well,
but you've got to.
Hey, look, it took him 10 years to get a premiership side together at Collingwood, didn't it? Who knows how long he's going to be at Carlton, but he learnt the whole way through at Collingwood, and he built and rebuilt and tinkered and tweaked and finally got the team that he needed.
What I like about Mick, he's a player's man. He doesn't dump on them.
No doubt about that.
He doesn't. He uses the players very well. He protects them, and they reward him back with performance, and that's what he has done in the past, and I'm sure it'll happen again.
We know that Joe Daniher is going to play his debut game for the Bombers. There's some selection conundrums for the Blue Bags as well as we wait to see who might come back in this week. There are some big names on the outer who are ready to come back now. I think we ticked the first 2 there. I think there's no question that Jardine Betts come back into the side. Robbie Warnock was playing some really decisive footy before he tweaked that knee. He's probably going to be ready to come back, and Kane Lucas was getting a lot of the footy. Do the 4 of them, if they're all fit, come straight back in?
I think that they want them to. Whether they do or not, that's another thing. I mean, sometimes it's form, and if you're just not right on a night like tomorrow night, you get found out. That there is a big litmus test here that you understand. It's as I say, it's an audit on what you are and where you're at. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they've got a couple of big guns. You don't forget Zaharakis too. They've got to have someone run with Zaharakis and pull him up. They also Watson they've got, and they've got Stanton as well. So there's 3 or 4 they make a decision on where they go.
Lee, you mentioned Levi Caswell. Just quickly, your thoughts on where he's fitting in the balance of things at the moment.
I like him. He's learning to play more and more, and he's tall, and sometimes they take a bit longer than everyone else. He can mark the ball. I love him crashing into packs. He obliterates them, and I love that. And you take a few with you as well. That's what you're allowed to do, and that's in the law. The other side of it is he's kicking. He kicks the ball around the ground perfectly. Get in front of goals, you just cover your eyes. I think he does too. And he's just got to relax and enjoy it and go back and kick it, because it's a very simple exercise.
Remember, if you want to get involved in the show, you can send in your comments and questions via Twitter, #The Blueprint. Email the club with the blueprint in the subject line via blues@carltonfc.com.au. This week we asked you, what is your favourite Heath Scotland moment in light of the fact that he's playing his 200th game for the club? It is remarkable. What are you laughing at?
Oh, I just had a giggle.
Yeah, I bet you did. Clint has put this forward, his left foot pass to Fev versus Adelaide in 2004. I can't believe it was this long ago, round 11. It was pinpoint. Let's have a look at it, Sellers. It was 2004. Can you believe it?
It's a brilliant kick from the man. He's had his troubles on and off the field. There's nothing wrong with mentioning that, because it's true.
That's happened.
But you know what? As a person, I've met him. I found him a terrific bloke. But as a footballer for this football club, he's been sensational. Been terrific. 200 games is no mean feat, mate. Terrific stuff, and I'm sure Mick is happy to have him back.
What a durable and reliable and professional commodity he's been for the football club, and everybody around here obviously dips our lid to you, Heath. Congratulations. While Jonathan says favourite moment would be the 2011 semi-final against West Coast Eagles, when in the first quarter he kicked the goal that put us 3 goals up and silenced the home crowd. We know how important that is. His reaction was great too. It was a great start to this game by the Blues, and I reckon the way he reacted to this, so has just said that this side's on tonight. We knew exactly how important it was. In the end, it was ultimately disappointing, only just.
It was a terrific game of footy, that, and we understand the West Coast are pretty hard to beat at home, but to take away the crowd and silence them, there's nothing better.
Yeah,
look, I love the way he plays.
Yeah.
He's a heart and soul player, and he's got lots of ability too, and don't underestimate him. He may play for another year.
He might. He's been a great one. He won the Best and Fairest last year, so he's going pretty well. Nathan believes winning the Carlton Best and Fairest is truly the most underrated player in the league. And finally, Bennett simply says leaving Collingwood was the best thing, and his favourite Heath Scotland moment. I think a few people would agree with that. Membership's vitally important. The membership deadline's been extended by the AFL this year, and the club's launching another campaign. We've broken our membership record.
We have.
But we still haven't got to the 50,000 number that we're desperate to get to at the Carlton Footy Club.
I want to tell you something. There's only 2 games we want to win, Carlton, in a year. Collingwood's one, and the Bombers is the other.
And the grand final's the other one.
Well, if we get there.
Yeah, if we get there.
We can get there. But these 2 we can win, because they're 2 hateful clubs.
Well, it's a very, very big 5 weeks, of course, with Essendon, Hawthorn, then the bye, and then Sydney and Collingwood. It's a gigantic stretch.
It's fantastic
for the footy club, so we can't wait to see exactly how we sort of ply our way through it all.
What's a pass mark for those 4?
Well, I think 2 out of 4.
I reckon it's a really good point.
I think if we win 2 out of 4, and we're competitive in the others, I think that's going to keep most of us pretty happy, I would have thought.
I think we've been competitive in every game.
Yeah.
There's no game where we've been blown away, and I think that'll be a given. Can we win 2 out of the 4? I reckon that's a good pass mark.
See you soon.
See you soon, mate.
Enjoy the weekend.
I will.
That's all we have time for on today's show. We'll be back in 3 weeks, given the bunch of buys that we've got to contend with. So you can catch us next on Thursday, the 27th of June. Until then, have a great long weekend and enjoy the footy.